Hi, it's me, Jazzy. I'm back with another tech-related video, and today it's a new kit build. Yes, it's about time we took a look at another electronics kit. Now, we've taken a look at a couple of Bluetooth boomboxes before on the channel. We had one from Amazon, and we had a Temu one with a single speaker. Well, today, what we're going to attempt to build is this. It's a rather deluxe looking boombox. This is another kit from Amazon, and this one has a lot more bits and bobs to it. We got two PCBs to solder up, one which features rather a lot of LEDs, and then we have to put together my favorite thing, the acrylic case. So without further ado, let's get this pile of components over on the bench and get started on this kit. Right, always love it when it's time for a new kit, and this is a good one. This is the third Bluetooth boombox I've done, and this looks to be by far the best. For one thing, it's so much bigger. The speakers are front facing, and we've got a spectrum analyzer thing in the middle. Oh, we've got loads of bits here. Oh goodness me. Right, we're going to have fun with this. And we've got two boards to solder up on this kit as well. There's loads of bits in here. So what have we got? So this is the spectrum analyzer board, and I'm wondering if I scan this QR code I might get some instructions if I'm lucky, but it seems fairly self-explanatory. Rather a few LEDs. Oh my goodness. Now we've got to make sure we get them all in the right way around. Now we've got a whole other load of stuff here which does have instructions inside. This is the other board, which is going to be the amplifier board. Oh, now we've got a decision to make. Which one do we build first? What have we got in here? Oh, speakers, of course. I had forgotten about those. Kind of need those for a Bluetooth speaker, right? Oh, okay, these look alright. I mean, they look pretty standard, same as we saw on the last Bluetooth speaker, really. 4 ohms, 3 watts. Wow, feel the power. All right, so we've got two of these. Beautiful. That's exactly the right amount. Here we go. Now, ever since I did the first boombox kit, I've wanted to do one that has the speakers front facing, so you get a proper kind of stereo sound from it, rather than having the speakers pointing outwards as they were in the other Amazon kit. This is also from Amazon. I'm excited for this. So now we've got a decision to make now as to which board are we going to build first. I reckon let's start with the amplifier, shall we? We'll come back to the spectrum analyzer board afterwards. So here's our PCB for the amplifier board. Nice and simple. Now we've got instructions, and we've got our components, and we've got a whole load of cables. There's a switch there. There's components in with the cables. Right, so we've got a barrel jack to USB for power, one would presume. We've got a 3.5mm jack to 3.5mm jack. Okay, another switch. And we've got some internal cables, I would presume, for connecting the two boards together. So let's put over there everything we don't need yet. You know me, with kits, I always like to do a little bit of housekeeping first and get everything grouped together. There's our Bluetooth module, so we're going to need that. So we've got some switches, nice clicky little micro switches there. There's our 3.5mm jack, barrel jack for power. It's all fairly self-explanatory, aren't they? These are the connectors for those ribbon cables. And we've got another, that's the on-off switch. Nice, that'll be the knob for the on-off switch. We've got a little potentiometer here, possibly for volume, and we've got a couple of little chips here. Oh, we've got to do some SMD soldering work on this one. 3 electrolytics. We've got some resistors. It's fairly simple, actually, isn't it? There's not a huge amount to do on this board. We've got a few resistors and some ceramics there. We've got instructions. Chinese instructions. That's fine. Well, okay, we've got a schematic, so things could be worse. And I'm wondering if I scan that, whether I'll get the English instructions. You never know. Oh, now this is clearly the plan for the spectrum analyzer board, isn't it? Look at all those diodes. That's a lot of diodes on there. It's a diode fest. Some of this is incredibly small, but I think it does give me pretty much everything I need to know. Right, I had a quick look online to see if I could find the instructions for this. I tried this QR code and it does take me to the website of the kit manufacturer, and it doesn't actually have this kit on it, so it was no help. But I managed to find from the listing, I've printed out a picture of the completed PCB, so I think between this and this we'll be alright, because this has got all the important stuff on here. I can probably guess that's Chinese for resistor. Tells me that it's R6, so we know it's a resistor and we know it's 9.1K. So we'll be all right. I'm going to follow the oversized printout and the Chinese list. It's time to bring in the PCB holder. Ooh, I always feel like it's ages since I've done a kit. Do you know, there's going to be viewers out there going, yeah, it feels like ages since you've done a kit. It's okay, there are other kits in the pipeline as well. I love a good kit. I've not had a lot of time recently for building them. That's generally why you haven't seen much in the way of kits. It's all down to the time I've had. So all we've got to do is turn this into this. Hopefully slightly smaller. What's wrong with my printer? Let's just go for it, yeah? Right, R3 and R2 are both the same colour coding. The colour codes on these tiny blue resistors are a pest. 3K. That's brilliant because my process of deduction tells me that R2 and R3 are listed as 3K. So we're on the right track. Right, let's go. Right, first one in. I always try and get them in straight where I can. It doesn't always work though. Some of it's dependent on how much my hands are shaking that day. Alright, so this is R8. I'm hoping this is a 51K. Is it? Yes, it is. Fantastic. And that is R8. Doing well considering we haven't got any instructions in the right language. I could have probably translated the sheet that came with it. I don't think my phone does that sort of thing. Right. R7. It's probably something I need an app for. There's an app for everything these days. This should be a 33K. And it is. You know me, I always like to use a component tester just to confirm that I'm putting the right thing in the right place, and then the kit will have more chance of actually working first time. Right, it's not going to take long to get all these resistors in, is it? R6 is apparently 9.1K. Certainly is. Right, that leaves us with R5. You can tell that's a 0 ohm resistor because we only have one stripe. There we go. Fabulous. Right, let's get some soldering done, shall we? Okay, this one seems to solder up reasonably well. Sometimes find with these cheap kits, they really don't solder well. This one seems alright. I think we're good. Where's my snippers? I'm still on the first pair, by the way. These were the cheap old Temu ones. They're doing alright. There we go, resistors are in. What I should do next is probably get these two little surface mount chips in, because it's a process of elimination, because if I put these two in, they're going to be in the way of me getting in there, aren't they? Got to be aware when you're assembling these of stuff getting in the way of stuff. So I think I'm going to get these two in first, and then I can get these in. We'll get the other flat bits in, like the potentiometer and the Bluetooth board, and then we'll work our way up with stuff like the switches and stuff and the electrolytics. So now these pesky little surface mount jobs, I have trouble with those. I kid you not when I tell you I do not do a lot of surface mount soldering. I have a preference for large chunky components that I can see, although to be fair I could use the microscope. Let's see what I can do with this. I'm trying to have a bit of a rejig on my other bench, so I've got a bit of stuff that's not hooked up at the moment. A little bit of flux goes a long way. Now we've got to make sure, as always with these little chips, that we get them in the correct orientation. What you might not be able to see on these is there's a little dot, bottom left in this case, on both of these chips, and these have got to line up with a marking on the board. This board here, it doesn't have, normally you'd have a little dot to denote where to line up your little dot with, but this board doesn't have that. But what it has is a little cutout there. The little cutout denotes the top of the IC, which is denoted by the dot on this. At least the flux will hold it in place. As I say, surface mount soldering, really not my thing. Well, it would be if I practiced more, but I don't. What I should do is get myself a surface mount practice kit and just sit and do it. Because I don't do surface mount often. I'm normally working on through-hole stuff, because most of the stuff I work on or repair is old, so it tends to be through-hole stuff usually. Alright, so now I reckon we can get our ceramics in. So C3 and 4 are 1 microfarad, and C1 and 2 are 0.1 microfarad. Okay. So C3 and 4, I should have left it on this orientation, shouldn't I? Because I won't be able to get those two otherwise. There we go. That is not bad. Yeah, there we go. That's not so bad, is it? We're getting somewhere now. So what are we going to put on next? Let's get this Bluetooth card on. We had to do this before. I seem to remember last time I just kind of tacked one corner and went from there. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay, so why don't we get our potentiometer in? That's going to sit here. Let's sort these out. It's bow-legged. Oh, that's better. It's not what I'd call a precision fit, this. That did not want to fit. Well, it's not going to fall out. Okay, so we got 4 switches to go in here, so let's get those in. There we go. Let's get these switches soldered in. Right, there we go. I think this is probably a good point to put the electrolytics in. What do we got? C5, C6 and C8. Let's have a look at my list here. C5, C6 and C8. They're all the same, 470 microfarad 10 volt. Yep, they are indeed 470 microfarad 10 volt. So let's get these in. They're all the same, nice and easy. Just remember the long leg positive, as we always say, and then the white line there lines up with the white portion of the board. Starting to look like a pretty well populated board now. Right, let's get those in. There we go. Right, so interesting that they've put a bigger circle on this one but not on those, but they're all the same value. Let's get this one in. J1 is a 3.5mm jack socket, and that can only go in one way because of the orientation of the pins. Hold this in. I'm going to do some sideways soldering. There are better ways of doing this, by the way. Right, just get it tacked, then I can flip it over and finish it off properly. And one clicky switch. So that'll just hold that switch flat for me while I solder that in. Great, now I'm just going to move this one out the way. Alright, now we're getting there. We got our clicky switch. One thing left to go is the power jack. Now, there's only one way it's going to go in, isn't there? So it sits roughly square like that. That's alright. I reckon that's alright. So that is this side of the board done. There we go. Giant version and much smaller version. Looks pretty similar to me. So now we have 1, 2, 3 little connectors to go in, which are these 3, and this is going to connect this up to the speakers and to the other board. Yes, it shows the cutouts on the board there, look, so you know which way round you're going to go there. We might be able to hold that in place. That's it, perfect. Right, so what that's doing is that's clipping that connector to the bottom of the board. So I'm going to solder the middle 2 pins, and then I can move those clips out of harm's way. Let's just move those out of the way. See, that's nice and flush against the board and not offensive to my OCD in any way. So now we've got 2 little ones to go in. Quite a tight fit, so they're going to stay. Yeah, they're going to stay where I want them. Nice, that makes life easier. So there is our board. And if you don't look too closely at my rubbish surface mount soldering, it actually looks pretty good. I will practice, I promise. It's just not something I do a lot of. This is looking good. This is looking the part. So now I can set this one aside and we can move on. Again, I did scan this QR code to no avail. It takes you to this website, which is here, 56dz.com. And even after translating the site to English, I could not find any mention of this particular kit. They've got a lot of rather interesting looking kits on there, just not this one. Right, so let's have a look at the board for this. Yep, oh well, here goes. What we got here, quality, proof of quality. And yeah, don't know. We've got a few resistors. Let's separate these out, and then I'm going to print the picture I've got of a finished example, and then I'm going to follow that. So we've got a whole bunch of resistors, we've got an electrolytic, we've got a switch, we've got a socket, we've got another connector. Do you know, I worried for a minute there. I'm like, there's the socket, where's my IC? Yeah, it's on the other side of the foam. Of course it is. So this side of the paper must relate to this board. So that must say amplifier board, and this must say LED board, PCB, whatever. Weirdly, none of these have got any legends on them. Look, I mean, we know they're all going to be LEDs. All right, so process of elimination then, R1 to R11, there's 11 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Right, I would suggest that those are our 300 ohm resistors, and there are 4 100k resistors, which are R12 to R15, which is going to be 12, 13, 14, 15 there. When you haven't got the right instructions, it's all doable, because we have got this here, which actually does give us R1 to 11, but it's so tiny you'd need a magnifying glass to see that. This should help us to lay out what is described on the Amazon listing as a music spectrum board. Well, this gives an idea of how to lay it out. I think this is just the fact that my printer is either running out of ink or just has some issues. I think that's supposed to be the green, clearly there. So we're just going to set them out in rows of blue, green and red. And they're going to flash and do cool stuff when I play music through it. As is always the case, let's get the low profile components in first and go from there. Alright, so we've got 4 of these here. So these should be our 100k resistors. Double check. Yeah, bang on. That's alright, I'll take that. Right, 100k resistors. Okay, and we've got 11 of these. And these are the 300 ohm resistors, which they are. Fantastic. And these are the ones that go around the outside. Oh, like the Buffalo Girls. Right, so we know what we're doing now. Back in with the PCB holder. Let's get these in around the outside, Okay, so I'm going to do all the resistors first, as I would normally. So if you've just bought this kit and you're looking for a guide on how to build it using just a set of Chinese instructions and a photograph, then you're in the right place. Plus, we have got as well, we have got this schematic which tells us how to hook up all the different parts. So actually I think we're in a better place than we were with the very first Amazon Boombox kit that I built. Now let's switcheroo, go into PCB widescreen mode. Try not to smush those resistors. There is going to be a lot of soldering on this. So if you want a kit that's going to test your through-hole soldering skills, or this could be the one. See, look, I'm trying to make sure that I've got all my colour codes the same way around. There we go. Right, let's get these soldered in. We're going to get through a lot of solder on this board. Now follows a high-speed soldering montage. It's quite therapeutic though. If you're having a stressful day or a rubbish day, just putting together a little kit like this is cool because you got something at the end of it. Because once we finish building this, we've got the fun then of testing it. I can't wait to hear how it sounds. So this is the third Boombox kit now, and they're all quite different. I wanted to do a kit that was front facing for a while, but I couldn't find one that looked decent. Most of the ones I've seen with the front facing speakers, the speakers are really close to each other, and this one gives at least a little bit of stereo separation. So yeah, we'll see how we go. Right, let's get these ones in then. So we're gonna we're gonna flip this around again. Now we've got 4, which are these 4 here, which are our 100k ohm. Also, I don't necessarily recommend soldering in so many at once because the legs can get in the way of each other when you're soldering. If you're just getting started, you're better off doing a smaller amount at once. I like to do them in a batch. And then when we get to the LEDs in a minute, I'll do a speeded up montage of putting LEDs in, which will take moments for you, dear viewer, but will take considerably longer for me to solder all of those in. It's all part of the fun. It's always worth, although I don't always show it, giving your PCB a quick wipe over with some IPA before you start, because sometimes these boards have a bit of residue on, which can cause you a problem. Okay, tell you what, let's get the socket in next, shall we? Now, I'm not going to put the IC in until we've finished playing with heat. Oh, wow. We've got a gadget for this. Where is it? The IC leg straightener. People often ask me about this. Now, I did find the packet the other day, but it hasn't really got any discernible brand name on. I can't remember. I think I bought it from Amazon, but I'm not 100% sure. You can find them on most places that sell electronic bits and bobs, and they're just really handy to have. I got a couple of them kicking around, and you can use this side for the narrower ICs and this side for the wider ones. I've seen a few bent pins on sockets, but this is probably the worst I've seen. So you just push that in and it sorts them out for you. One tip I found is sometimes you have to move it up and down in the straightener to get it just right. Don't forget to look for the cutout in the top of the IC socket if you're new to doing these. Yes, there we go. Beautiful. Patience pays off. Let's flip this over. I think that's going to stay, isn't it? Look at the confidence. Yes, I think we're good there. Right, that means it's not going to go anywhere. Has anyone counted how many LEDs I've got to solder in a minute? There's 11 on each row. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 rows. 12 times 11, anyone? See, this is what I mean. If you're looking for a kit to test out your soldering skills or to improve your soldering skills, then this is the kind of kit you want. The socket is in. Now, shown on the photograph, there's 2 ceramic capacitors. Oh yeah, they're mixed in with the LEDs. Look, I didn't spot that. C1 and C2, here we go. Those are here, and they are 0.1 microfarad. Both the same. Okay. 99.73 nanofarads, that is close enough for me. It's near enough for a kit like this. So I've been using this little 3D printed solder roll holder that I got off Temu, and somebody in the comments suggested that I merely need to cut the top off it to get my roll of solder in, and you know what, they were right. Let's get our electrolytic, which is a 220 microfarad, which is correct. 220 microfarad, 10 volts. As always, the long leg positive. There we go. And then we've got one switch to go in here. There we go, that's our switch. Right, let's get the switch and the electrolytic soldered in. Got a nice big clicky switch there. Now with the LEDs, so the markings are not overly obvious if you didn't know what was what, to help you orient the LEDs, and obviously they are polarized, so you've got to have them in the right way round. So if you take a quick look at this circuit here, if you can see it, you can see the resistors are feeding the anode end of the LED, and the anode is the long leg positive, so therefore the anode would go there, and the cathode, which is the shorter leg, would go on that white segment there. So that's how we're going to lay them out, and that's why it's always useful, even if they don't give you instructions, if they give you a circuit, you've got some idea of trying to work out what is what. Alright, so I'm going to start with this end strip, which as we can see should be red LEDs. So let's go for the reds and the long leg positive. I could be here for a while. Speed montage of LED preparation. When you've got this many LEDs, you have to really concentrate on getting them in the right way round. Okay, so looking at the plan here, I see that I have no less than 132 LEDs to put in, which is 264 solder joints need doing. Now, I've got a bit of a plan to speed things up for myself. So I'm going to put all the LEDs in, and then I'm going to try something, which if it works is going to save me a lot of time. Here we go. So I've sped this up massively. This is 20 times the normal amount of time it would take me to put this many LEDs in. I know it's quite a long video, so if there's any of you out there still awake, I didn't want to bore you any further by putting this many LEDs in real time. We literally would be here all day. But you do have to concentrate quite hard when you're putting these in to make sure you get the polarity right on all these LEDs, because if you get one in the wrong way round, it's going to mess up the whole effect of your spectrum analyzer, and you don't want that. I think this is the most elaborate Bluetooth boombox we've done so far, and although it's a little bit repetitive putting all these LEDs in, and it's going to be even more repetitive soldering them in, I think it's definitely worth it. I think it's going to look really good when it's finished. If I get them all in nice straight lines, it'll look really cool through the front of the Perspex case. Great, so that's all 132 LEDs in place. Now all we've got to do is 264 solder joints. Now, I did mention that I had a bit of a plan in mind for flipping this over, and here it is. Blue tack, although it actually says it's white tack technically. Now the plan is that we're just going to put this carefully to make sure they're all okay in place. Now we're just going to push this down just enough. Now all the different uses they give on the top for blue tack, not one of them is for holding LEDs while you solder them. I think we're going to be near enough. Oh, it looks like a pin cushion, doesn't it? So what I'm probably going to need to do is to solder along a row and then cut the row of pins off so I can get to the next lot. So now follows another speed montage, this time soldering. Okay, so once again massively sped up. Now I don't recommend that this is necessarily the best way to go about this, and I was questioning my decision part of the way through really. So I'm just going along each row, soldering the pins and then cutting the legs off, and it's almost like a little forest of component legs that you've got to work your way through to be able to get to the top of the board. If anyone's got any other ways that they like to work on repetitive rows of components like this, do let me know. But I found using the blue tack helped to keep everything flat while I'm working on it. Whether it'll still be flat when I peel it off, well, we'll find out in a minute. So if you're a fan of kits on the channel, I've got a few sitting around here that I need to get around to building. Generally, if I haven't done a kit for a while, it's because I've been too busy to fit one in. So it's quite nice actually to just sit there and solder this one together. So you can see how repetitive this is as I go across each row and then have to cut the legs off. Now, it did take a considerable amount of time, and I did stop part way through for a cup of coffee, because otherwise it gets a bit tedious and you have to enjoy it. I'm using, although the footage is sped up, you can see I'm still using the Scrapmag in between, which is a very handy tool for picking up all the legs that you've cut off. I'll leave the link in the description for that and the other bits and bobs that I normally use when I'm doing kits, like the PCB holder and the Omnifixo. So once I've got these final couple of rows done and clip the legs off, then we can flip it over and peel that blue tack off and see, did it work, or are the LEDs going to be all over the place? Let's take a look. Did my system work? Well, we're going to find out right now. Oh, that's not bad. There's like a couple on the edge that just need a nudge. This is all done on this side. So all we've got to do now is we've just got to solder a little connector on the back here, which is this one here. I think this is the last thing I need to solder, apart from the connections on the speakers. So using the Omnifixo is pressing the connector against the bottom of the PCB, so it means it's going to sit nice and flat, and then I can just tack the middle two. There we go, that's our little connection on the bottom there, and that's sitting nice and square. That's the good thing with clamping it to the board. It means it sits nice and square, and I'm very happy with those LEDs. They look great. They're about as neat as I think I can possibly get them. Last job on this board is to put the IC in. If you wanted to know what chip it was, I'll look that up and I'll put the data sheet on the screen for you. Again, the poor thing is in a shocking state. Look at that. Good job I've got the IC leg straightener here. Yes, look at that. Fantastic. This is such a good little gadget. I should be getting commission on this. It's literally is something that I found. A friend of mine had one yonks ago, and I thought, I need that. It's just such a nifty little thing. So again, you need to line up the notch in the top of the IC with the notch in the top of the socket, and this should. Right, the control chip is in. So we've got our two boards here. What we don't have is any instructions for building the case. So I've printed out this picture from the listing. I chose this one because this gives the best sort of overall impression of how it goes together. We should be able to hook these two boards up then and just test them out. Let's just make sure it functions as it should before we put it in the acrylic case. There's an interior divider here, I presume to give improved audio, because the speakers are in like their own little enclosure. We've got our bag of stuff with our little quality control thing in it again. So these are the ends and the internal panels, front, back, top and bottom. So I'm guessing these cutouts are where my speaker wire goes through. So it looks like I can do a benchtop lash up of this to see if it works or not. That's for this switch here, which has a square profile on it. So it's only going to go on one way. So this has bare ends, so I'm guessing this goes to the speakers. And I'm guessing this must connect the two boards together. It's a process of elimination. They're both the same, 4-pin connector. So, okay, let's put that one into there, that one into there. I realise that I may or may not have to take these out again when I put this into the case, but I'd kind of like to just have a quick test of this before I put it in the case, just in case anything needs checking, resoldering, anything's a bit dodgy. The Bluetooth thing is flashing. That's good. I never know which is the best bit of doing a kit. Is it building the kit or testing the kit? I'm going to take these speaker ones off in a minute and solder them to the speakers. Oh, there you go. We definitely got something out of that. But did I get something from the other channel? I did. Right, okay. Both channels seem to be working. Fantastic. Right, let's begin the case assembly. Wow, lots of bits in here. Right, we've got to turn that into that. Loads of standoffs, high quality plastic standoffs, type of thing I would associate with a high quality speaker system. Oh, there's some metal ones as well. Look, we've got some brass ones. Well, brass coloured. Right, so I'm going to need to solder these onto the speakers before I put them in the case. On the wiring, then, we know that this is left. So, there we go. So that's the left channel. Mental note, left channel has smaller stripes on the negative. So that means we must be, yeah, so that's the right channel. So that's left, that's right. That's it. Get a good mechanical join. Whack a bit of solder in there. We want a good strong join so it doesn't get affected by the vibration of the speakers. I've got a feeling we're going to need to separate out these two strands because they're going in different directions, aren't they? Yeah, these are going to have to go in different directions, aren't they, when they're in the case? So I'm going to separate them out completely. It took a bit of brain power, that, didn't it? Okay, so plus is that one. I should have stripped it back a bit, but hindsight is a wonderful thing. There we go. I'm happy. I always think if you can do that, then you know you've got a reasonable solder joint. Okay, now we can start to assemble the case. Oh, the worst part of any acrylic case, getting the backing off. I guess this is slightly better than the brown paper ones. There we go. So I'm going to try the theory that we need the long screws for these. Now what I've got to watch is this hole here needs to be bottom left because it's where this little switch goes through. So it looks to me like this goes through. Then we need the left speaker, which remember is the one with the small lines on it. Oh well, this speaker's a bit damaged. I didn't notice that actually when I opened it. I'm sure it'll be okay though. I'm sure it will be fine. Of course, what we need to do is put it on a distortion meter just to see how distorted the actual speaker is. The actual speaker itself, rather than what it's outputting. It'll be okay. All we've got to do is screw these plastic standoffs on here. How that will affect the dynamic of the speaker being slightly smushed, I don't know, but I suspect it'll be fine. Are these supposed to sit sideways? Yes, they are supposed to sit sideways. What I gleaned from the picture is it looks like this sits sideways with the wire coming out there. I guess that would make sense. I'm not certain if these speakers are 100% square. That looks better and it lines up better with the circle as well. So yes, I would say if you're building this kit, it does look like the wire comes on the inside of the speaker like this. So then the other one is going to sit like this. Okay, this is good stuff. The brass ones are clearly for mounting the PCBs because we've got 4 big ones and 4 small ones. We just got to work out which one does which. I'm not going to do these up too tight yet because I've got to make sure they line up with the other side. It's now become obvious, hasn't it? Because this board clearly uses the smaller standoffs and screws. This board uses the larger standoffs and screws onto the back panel. Great! I've got to make sure we got this the right way up, and there's a little cutout here in the acrylic which lines up with that switch on the board. Okay, so I think before I put that in, let's get the standoffs in place first. So yeah, it was extremely repetitive soldering in all those LEDs, but it was worth it. I don't necessarily recommend you do what I did and try and put them all in at once, although it did save me a lot of time. There are probably other more sensible ways of doing it. So this goes here because we've got the hole for the switch. That's it. That's located through nicely. So now we've just got to get these 4 screws in the back here. That looks cool. And you've got the whatever that button there does. That's important. And this is why it was important to get the LEDs all in straight rows, because you're going to be looking at the front of this. So you're going to see those LEDs every time. Great, so now I need my back panel, and I've got to make sure this goes the right way around, because there's obviously various cutouts. Is it this way? Yeah, there we go. I'm going to screw the standoffs. Don't need to do these up mega tight. And the ones going through the acrylic, definitely don't over tighten them. I speak from experience when I say they can easily get cracked. We're just making all the various parts of the project into one whole thing. Now, obviously, you can cable manage the speaker cables a little better than me. Further complication is we've got these interior panels here. I shouldn't have put the speaker cables in, because they've got to go through these holes. They've got to come back off again. So let's do this one first so I don't get them mixed up. It's going to have to go something like that. So let me put that one back in. Okay, so regarding all these nuts that we've got here, so what I've decided to do, the nuts are obviously because these spacers are not quite long enough. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the nut on the inside of the speaker, like that. Using the Timu nut spinners to do the nut up. Again, I don't want to over tighten those because I don't want to risk cracking the acrylic. I'm only doing these up finger tight. Right, now I'm going to put the standoffs back on. And then I'm going to do the same on this side. And now these should reach the back of the case. So I see why they've used those nuts, because these standoffs are just not quite long enough. What I'm hoping is, if I've helped at least one person that's bought this kit to figure out how on earth it goes together, then I will be super happy. Okay, we're nearly there. Let's get these standoffs back. And now we can get on with the fiddly process of trying to get all the sides of the case on at once. Now comes the fun bit. Didn't we? That these only go one way around. There we go. We're going to have them like that. Okay, so they're in. You've got to kind of juggle multiple parts of this at once. That's it. That's in. Nice click there. Now you can, if you want yours to be super neat, you can cable manage those. I'm quite happy with how they are. Right, okay, that is fine. I am literally just going to put one screw in to hold all of this together for now. Just loosely. Just so the whole thing doesn't pop apart. I might put another one in there. As soon as I let go of this, all these sides are going to pop out. So now we've kind of got a structure now to work off of. So we now need to get the base in, or the ends. I've got one standoff there that doesn't quite line up, so I feel like I'm going to have to deal with that before I put any more together. Oh, I know, I can just put these in quite loosely, can't I? So at least it keeps the standoff in place. Yes, and then I can just snap the bottom in and push it all together. So I'm figuring all this out, so hopefully, dear viewer, this saves you a little bit of time on having to work these things out. Right, that means those standoffs now can't move around anywhere. Right, now we've got all those screws in. Now I can get this end on, and we just need to put the top on, and we're there. We're actually officially there with the assembly. Because this speaker's a bit smushed, it's not quite the right shape. As you can see, this speaker is slightly smushed. It was damaged in transit, but I'm just going with it. It'll be okay. It makes it unique. The last piece, the actual last piece. You will notice that I did pre-remove the film from these acrylics, so you didn't have to sit through the agony of me peeling them all off. Oh, there we go. Yes, 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 it's there. Right. Okay, quickly let's do the screws up on the back. I think we're there. Again, I'm not going to over tighten these because I don't want to risk cracking the case. They need to be just tight enough to hold the whole thing together. without it being too creaky. Well, there we go. One stereo Bluetooth boombox speaker kit complete. So on the back, you've got the clicky on-off switch, you've got the power jack, 3.5mm jack to put audio in, and we've got our 4 buttons here, which there's no legend, so you have to remember what they do. It does tell you on the back of the board, so you could actually make up a label for the top if you wanted to. So it basically says on-off. With the Temu one, on-off meant the Bluetooth on-off, disconnect. So you've got previous track, you've got next track, and then you've got pause, and then your volume there. And that's all you've got. And you've got a button on the front here, which we don't know what that does. We'll find out. It looks very cool. And look at all these spare LEDs I've got for future projects. All right, so let's put some power in. And switch on. Well, it's definitely doing something. All right, I guess I need to pair my phone to it then. There we go. It's an M18 then. Process of elimination. Let's see if we can pair. It says it's connected. Crab rave, anyone? Okay. Well, the LEDs work. Okay, and this, what does this do then? Oh, so this changes your light patterns. So you can have it doing different things. Oh, there you go. Yeah, so you can have it doing different stuff. And you've got the next track. It does change the track. And last track, yeah. Pause. There you go. Pause and play. Okay. And you can use this button to change your light pattern. One thing I will say about the coloured lights, they look really cool. They're not quite in time with the music, but still, they do look pretty cool. They do look genuinely pretty cool. I think it actually sounds alright. It sounds not bad at all. It goes quite loud. You can see you've got your Bluetooth blinking away on the back there. So just for comparison then, here's the Temu one that we built last time around. And here's the original Amazon one from the very first Amazon Bluetooth Boombox episode. So you can see that the Temu one does have a slightly larger speaker, but it only has one speaker. And it has a slightly bigger magnet. And now this one has probably about the same size speaker as the Amazon one. But I do know the magnet in this new one is bigger than the original one. I'd say sound-wise, not a lot in it. These both go about as loud. The advantage here is having the front-facing speakers rather than the side-facing speakers. Plus, you've got the really cool spectrum analyzer LED array going on the front there. It seems to be a little bit behind the music. Whether that's something that's a limitation of this chip, whether this chip could be changed for something that will maybe give a bit more responsiveness, I don't know. Maybe there's somebody out there that knows that. All 3 kits were really fun to build, so whichever one you pick, you're going to have a lot of fun building it and you're going to have fun playing music through it. They're pretty cool. This does look really cool, but as you saw, it was quite a lot of work. But if you're looking for a kit that is going to improve your through-hole soldering, this is probably the one to go for. Plus you get the added fun of soldering up 2 boards, which is cool. With this one, the Bluetooth board came pre-made, so all you had to solder up was this bottom board with the LEDs on. Instruction-wise, we did have some issues with instructions on this one. This one was actually alright. The Temu one actually came with quite good instructions, I seem to recall. This one, as we saw, well, the instructions were in Chinese, but they were enough to get us through because we could see which component went where, and the added bonus of having schematics and stuff included meant I could blow those up and print them out, which was awesome. That really helped with the assembly progress. Yeah, Bluetooth Boombox kits. I suspect it's not the last one that I'll be taking a look at. Really good fun. Price wise, I think this one was about 8, this was about 16, this was £22. That was the most expensive one so far. Really cool, good fun. If you're looking for a good fun kit, one of these could be the one for you maybe. Well, there you go then. Which one was your favourite? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think this was worth the extra money and the extra effort of putting in all these LEDs? Well, I think it looks really, really cool. The flashing lights, spectrum analyzer type effect seemed to be slightly behind the music. It didn't detract too much from this little Bluetooth boombox. I still reckon it's cool, and it was a lot of fun putting it together. I like the fact you get to do 2 PCBs, although I would suggest when you do the LEDs, like maybe take a couple of breaks in between it and come back to it. Does get a little bit repetitive, but I think it does look really, really cool. So yeah, sound wise, I thought it was pretty good. I listened to quite a few tracks on it, of which I couldn't play you unfortunately because of copyright, and I think having the speakers facing the front does make quite the difference. I think it does give you a slight stereo separation that you don't get from the other kit where the speakers are facing out the sides. But I think all 3 kits were great fun to build, and I think whichever one of those you pick, if you're looking for a Bluetooth boombox kit, you're going to have great fun putting it together and great fun playing some tunes through it as well. So I hope you've enjoyed today's video putting this Bluetooth boombox kit together, and if you've made it this far through the entire video, bonus points for you. As always, massive thanks to everyone for watching, sharing, liking and subscribing. If you do feel in the mood to hit the subscribe button, it's always massively appreciated and helps to support the channel. I'll be back soon with some more tech related videos, but in the meantime, take care and I'll see you on the next one.